On a cold and rainy night in New York, the wind howled through the deserted streets of Brooklyn, dragging leaves and small debris across the asphalt. The street lights reflected in puddles, creating a scene that was almost magical yet unsettling. Jake Miller, an experienced taxi driver, drove his yellow cab through the area with extra caution due to the relentless downpour. As he maneuvered around a corner, Jake noticed a solitary figure standing on the sidewalk. It was a pregnant woman, dressed only in a light dress and a thin jacket, insufficient for the biting cold. Her hair was wet and plastered to her forehead, and her large frightened eyes seemed to be searching for something or someone. Jake pulled the taxi over to the curb and without hesitation, stepped out of the car, trying to shield himself from the pouring rain. He approached the woman with a concerned look. "Hi, ma'am. You look like you need help. Can I take you somewhere?" he asked, trying to convey some warmth and security. The woman slowly raised her head, her hands resting protectively on her belly. Her eyes were filled with tears, and her voice trembled as she replied, "Please. I don't know what to do. I need to get to the hospital. I think the baby might be coming." Jake felt a chill down his spine at the desperation in her voice. Without further questions, he helped the woman into the taxi, carefully opening the door and offering her a towel he kept in the back seat to dry off. "Don't worry. We're going to the hospital right now. Everything's going to be okay." As she settled into the seat, Jake got back in the car and started the engine. The raindrops drummed on the taxi's roof, creating a constant and almost comforting sound. "Which hospital do you prefer?" he asked, keeping his tone calm and steady. "Any. Just, please hurry," Lily responded, her voice barely a whisper as she tried to take deep breaths to calm herself. Jake set the GPS for the nearest hospital and sped down the street. At every traffic light, he wondered if they would make it in time. "Are you feeling okay? Is there anything I can do to help?" he asked, trying to keep the conversation going and distract her a bit. "I don't know. I'm in a lot of pain," Lily replied, closing her eyes and clutching her belly. She was clearly struggling to speak, her breathing becoming erratic. Jake drove with a mix of urgency and caution, keeping his focus on the road and the rearview mirror. "We're almost there. Stay with me, we're going to make it." The streets of New York blurred past the taxi window as Jake continued his race against time, worried about the woman's life and the fate that seemed to be unfolding before them. Jake remained at the hospital after dropping Lily off at the emergency reception. The lobby was illuminated with cold, fluorescent light, and the constant hum of monitors and hushed conversations filled the air. He sat in one of the uncomfortable chairs, anxiously watching the entrance to the triage area. The medical staff sprang into action quickly when Lily was taken to a treatment room. Jake saw nurses and doctors moving with agility and professionalism. He was nervous but tried to stay calm, mentally noting the information about Lily's condition. Every time the emergency room door opened, Jake stood up, eagerly awaiting news. His eyes followed the movement of the staff and the swinging doors, hoping for some sign that Lily was in good hands. The rain continued outside, falling steadily against the hospital windows, as if it too were keeping pace with the situation. After what felt like an eternity, a doctor appeared in the lobby with a relieved expression. He approached Jake, who immediately stood up. "Hi, I'm Dr. Smith. The patient you brought in is stable now. It was a premature labor, but we managed to stabilize her. We're doing everything we can to ensure she and the baby are okay," the doctor explained in a reassuring tone. Jake let out a deep sigh, the weight of his worry easing slightly. "Thank you, doctor. I just wanted to make sure she was in good hands. I'll be here if she needs anything." The doctor nodded, offering a brief smile. "I'll give you the hospital's contact details. If she needs any additional assistance or information, you can reach out to us. And if Lily needs help or someone to talk to, we can arrange that as well." Jake jotted down the phone number and contact name the doctor handed him. "Thank you so much. I'll stay here a bit longer, just to make sure she's okay." As the doctor walked away, Jake sat back down, gazing toward the area where Lily was being treated. He felt a mix of relief and concern, his mind racing with thoughts about what would happen next. He knew he had done everything he could for Lily and hoped that soon she would receive all the help and support she needed. The following morning, Jake woke up with the feeling that something was amiss. He went to his apartment window and was met with an unexpected sight. 3 black SUVs were parked in front of his building. The sight of these vehicles, aligned in a nearly strategic manner, did not go unnoticed. The sky was gray and overcast, and the rain from the previous night had left the asphalt shiny and wet. The SUVs were all tinted, without visible license plates, and seemed to have been there for a while. Jake noticed that the windows were completely closed and the occupants of the vehicles were not moving. The presence of the imposing cars and the absence of any activity left a tense atmosphere in the air. Jake felt a chill run down his spine as he took in the situation. He furrowed his brow and tilted his head, trying to understand what was happening. The thought that these vehicles might be related to what had happened with Lily crossed his mind. His thoughts churned with the possibility that something more was at play, something he had not anticipated. He went down to the building's lobby, trying to stay calm, and checked the area around. He observed the SUVs from various angles, but nothing seemed to indicate that anyone was about to exit or enter the vehicles. The car doors were closed and the dark windows did not allow him to see inside. The silence was almost absolute, except for the distant sound of the city waking up to a new day. Jake decided he needed to understand the situation better. He approached the main entrance of the building and tried to observe from there. The feeling of being watched was palpable, and he couldn't shake the unsettling thought that these vehicles might have some connection to the previous night's incident. Every time he passed by the lobby window, his eyes searched for any sign of movement in the SUVs. Jake's nervousness grew, and he couldn't ignore the feeling that he was in the middle of something bigger and more sinister than he had imagined. Jake noticed that although the SUVs were parked in a fixed spot, the lack of movement around them made the scene even stranger. There was something unsettling about the way the vehicles remained in the same place, as if they were waiting for something. Occasionally, he could see a shadow moving quickly inside one of the cars, but the view was always partial and incomplete. Determined to gather more information, Jake found a resident who was about to head up to his apartment. He was a middle-aged man with a worried expression. Jake approached him, trying to appear casual, but his unease was evident. "Good morning," Jake began, attempting to sound friendly. "I couldn't help but notice the 3 black SUVs parked in front of the building. Have you noticed them too?" The resident stopped, looking at Jake with a concerned expression. "Yes, I've seen them. They've been there for hours, haven't they? And no one gets in or out. It seems quite suspicious." Jake nodded. "Exactly. I've tried to see something, but the tinted windows make it difficult. Have you noticed anyone leaving the vehicles or any movement?" The resident shook his head. "Nothing so far. Just the cars, sitting silently. I feel uneasy about it too." I asked the janitor, but he didn't know anything either. "If you find out anything or hear something more, let me know." Jake thanked him, and the resident entered the elevator. Jake continued to watch the SUVs from the main entrance, feeling that he needed to stay alert. The lack of clear information and the enigmatic behavior of the vehicles only increased his unease. He knew he needed to discover more to understand what was happening and protect himself from any potential threat. As the hours passed, Jake's mind raced with possibilities. Were these vehicles connected to Lily and the events of the previous night? Were they there to intimidate or monitor him? The uncertainty gnawed at him. He decided that the best course of action would be to confront the situation head-on. Jake resolved to approach one of the SUVs and try to get a closer look. He walked towards the nearest vehicle, his heart pounding, and knocked on the driver's side window. For a moment, there was no response, but then the window rolled down slightly, revealing a pair of cold, watchful eyes. "Can I help you?" a voice asked, calm but with an edge of authority. Jake took a deep breath. "Yes, actually. I noticed you and your colleagues have been parked here for a while. Is there something going on that I should know about? This is my home and I'm concerned." The man behind the window studied Jake for a moment before replying. "We're here on official business. Nothing you need to worry about. Just go about your day." Unsatisfied but not wanting to push his luck, Jake nodded and stepped back. The window rolled up, and he returned to the lobby, his mind still buzzing with questions. The encounter confirmed his suspicion that something significant was happening, but without more information, he couldn't piece together the puzzle. For now, all he could do was remain vigilant and hope that whatever storm was brewing would soon pass. Jake decided to go back to the hospital to check on Lily. After a restless night watching the black SUVs, he was determined to get more information about her condition. Upon arriving at the hospital, he headed straight to the information desk, where a nurse was attending to inquiries. "Good morning," Jake began, trying to sound calm. "I brought a patient here last night, Lily Adams. I would like to know how she is doing now." The nurse, a young woman with a badge hanging around her neck, typed some information into a computer and looked at Jake with a professional demeanor. "Let me check her status for you." After a few moments, she looked back at Jake with a somewhat serious expression. "Ms. Adams is currently under temporary police protection." Jake was surprised and confused. "Police protection? What happened? Is she all right?" The nurse made a sympathetic gesture. "I can't provide many details due to privacy policies, but I can tell you it's a standard measure in certain circumstances. Lily is receiving all the necessary care. If you need more information, it might be best to speak directly with the security team." Jake nodded, still feeling uneasy. "I understand. I just want to make sure she's okay." "She is stable and receiving appropriate care," the nurse confirmed, trying to reassure him. "If there are any changes or if you need to contact her, You will be informed." Jake thanked her and walked away from the desk, his mind still filled with questions. He felt a mix of relief and unease. The police protection seemed to indicate that something more serious was happening, but Jake knew he had to respect Lily's privacy. As he left the hospital, Jake couldn't shake the connection between the police protection and the SUVs still parked outside his building. The continuous presence of the vehicles made him even more uneasy, and he felt that something was out of place. The unease and the need to understand the situation better only grew, as he tried to stay calm and solve the mystery surrounding him. Back at his apartment, Jake couldn't help but notice the SUVs were still there, their silent presence now even more ominous after learning about Lily's situation. His mind raced with possibilities. Were these vehicles part of the police protection, or was something more sinister at play? Feeling more determined than ever, Jake decided to take a more direct approach. He took a deep breath, steeled his nerves, and approached one of the SUVs again. This time, he knocked more firmly on the window. The same calm but authoritative voice responded as the window rolled down slightly, revealing the same cold, watchful eyes from before. "I need some answers," Jake said firmly. "What's going on? Why are you here, and what does it have to do with Lily Adams?" The man behind the window scrutinized Jake for a moment before speaking. "Mr. Miller, I suggest you go about your business and leave this matter to us. It's for your own safety." Jake's frustration bubbled over. "I can't just ignore this. Lily was under my care last night, and now she's under police protection. I need to know what's happening." The man sighed, sensing Jake's resolve. "All right, listen carefully. This is a sensitive operation, and I can't disclose much. But I will tell you this. You did a good thing bringing Ms. Adams to the hospital. There are people out there who wish her harm, and we're here to ensure that doesn't happen. For now, that's all you need to know." Jake's mind whirled with this revelation. People who wish her harm? Why? What's going on? The man's eyes softened just a fraction. "She's involved in something bigger than you realize. But rest assured, we are doing everything to keep her safe. Now, please, for your own safety, stay out of this." With that, the window rolled up, leaving Jake standing in the street with more questions than answers. As he walked back to his apartment, he couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. Whatever Lily was caught up in, it was dangerous. And now, he was indirectly involved. Jake knew that Lily's situation was delicate, and now he was even more determined to help her without putting himself in danger. After saying goodbye to Lily, he left the hospital and decided to return to his apartment. The feeling of being watched was constant, especially with the black SUVs still parked outside his building. As he climbed the stairs, he mentally made a list of what needed to be done. First, he needed to talk to David again. As a lawyer, David might have access to more information about Lily's police protection and might even understand better the threats surrounding her. Second, he needed to find a way to ensure his own safety and Lily's. Back at the apartment, Jake took his phone and called David. The phone rang several times before David answered. "David, it's Jake again. I need more information, if possible. Lily's situation is more serious than I thought. She mentioned something about a criminal organization and an old family debt. Do you know anything more about it?" David sighed on the other end of the line. "Jake, I knew you'd want more details. Unfortunately, there are limits to what I can find out without getting into sensitive areas. But I can tell you that if she's under police protection, the threat is real and serious. They don't put someone under protection without a valid reason." Jake appreciated David's honesty. "I understand, David. Do you think there's anything more I can do to ensure she and the baby stay safe? Or anything I should do to protect myself?" David paused before responding. "The best advice I can give you is to keep an eye on any suspicious activity around you, and avoid getting more involved than necessary, as Lily said. If things get more intense, consider even leaving the city for a while. Also, keep the police informed about anything suspicious you see." Jake thanked David again and hung up. David's words echoed in his mind. He needed to be cautious and prepared for anything. Determined to stay vigilant, Jake continued to discreetly monitor the activity around his building. He noticed that the SUVs were still there, but with no apparent activity. Nevertheless, the feeling of being watched was constant. Deciding to understand the situation better, Jake took a walk around the block to see if he could notice anything more. While walking, he made an effort to appear casual, but his eyes were sharp for any signs of danger. When he returned home, he saw something that made his heart race. An unknown man was talking to the building's doorman, gesturing towards the SUVs. Jake approached cautiously, trying to overhear the conversation without being noticed. "We're just here for security. There's no reason for concern," the unknown man said in a calm but firm tone. The doorman looked nervous but nodded. "I understand, sir. But some residents are concerned about the presence of these cars. It might be that they want more information. Jake took a step back, realizing that the man was trying to reassure the doorman without revealing too much. He knew he needed to be more astute to uncover the truth behind the surveillance. Back in his apartment, Jake began planning his next steps. He needed to stay calm, protect Lily, and ensure his own safety. And above all, he needed to uncover the truth about the criminal organization and the debt that had put Lily in danger. Determined to unravel this mystery, Jake felt a new wave of resolve. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face any obstacles to protect those who mattered to him. Jake, determined to help Lily, began searching for information about the criminal organization she had mentioned. He knew he needed to understand better who he was dealing with in order to offer the right kind of assistance. Initially, Jake turned to the internet, looking up news articles and reports related to the organization. He discovered that the group was notorious for its illegal activities, which included drug trafficking, extortion, and money laundering. The reports indicated that the organization was known for its brutality and for not hesitating to use violence to protect its interests or collect debts. Jake found accounts of how the group operated in various regions, maintaining tight control over its operations and avoiding exposure. Drug trafficking was one of their primary sources of revenue, and they had an extensive network of distributors and contacts. Extortion was another common practice, frequently used to pressure individuals into paying debts or cooperating with the organization. As Jake read through the articles and analyzed the available data, he began to piece together a profile of the organization. He discovered that they were extremely secretive and well-organized, with multiple layers of protection to avoid detection by authorities. The organization had a feared and respected reputation in the criminal underworld, which explained the level of threat Lily was facing. From the information he gathered, Jake realized that Lily's connection to the group was likely related to her attempt to escape a dangerous situation involving her family. As far as he could understand, Lily's family's debt to the organization was significant, placing her in the middle of the conflict. Lily's attempt to distance herself from the group seemed to have intensified the pressure on her, making her an even more vulnerable target. Jake knew that dealing with this situation would require more than just basic information. The criminal organization had reach and influence far beyond what he could face alone. However, he was determined to do whatever was necessary to help Lily, even if it meant confronting unknown dangers and reaching out to authorities or security experts to ensure her protection. Jake began receiving anonymous messages that left him alarmed. It started with a simple text but quickly escalated into a series of increasingly direct and aggressive threats. The messages arrived with disturbing frequency, and their content was clear. If Jake continued to involve himself in Lily's situation, he would face serious consequences. The first message Jake received read only, "Stay out of what's not your business." At first, he tried to ignore it, thinking it might be an empty attempt at intimidation. However, as the messages became more frequent and detailed, the tone turned more threatening. "You're taking too many risks. If you don't stop, you'll regret it." Jake read each message with a lump in his throat, his fear growing. With each new warning, the sense of insecurity intensified. The threats were clear and left no room for doubt. In one of the more alarming messages, he received a photo of his own car, taken while he was at work. The message read, "We're watching you. Don't think you can escape." Despite the growing fear, Jake felt he needed to continue helping Lily. The messages were not enough to divert him from his goal. He knew that if he gave up now, not only would Lily be in danger, but he would also feel guilty for not having done everything he could. His concern for Lily, now more vulnerable than ever after giving birth and entangled in a dangerous situation, kept him motivated. Jake tried to remain calm and act cautiously. He took measures to bolster his security, such as avoiding predictable routines and staying alert to any suspicious activity around him. But deep down, his determination to help Lily was stronger than the fear from the threatening messages. He knew that to ensure her safety, he needed to confront not only the imminent danger from the criminal organization, but also the constant fear of the threatening messages he was receiving. On an especially quiet night, Jake noticed something that caught his attention. One of the black SUVs that usually parked in front of his building began to move away slowly. The movement was subtle, but Jake was alert and immediately realized something was happening. He decided to follow the vehicle to see where it was going. With caution, Jake got into his car and kept a safe distance, ensuring he did not attract the SUV driver's attention. He drove carefully, using his mirrors to keep an eye on the car ahead without getting too close. The SUV left the neighborhood and entered a less populated area of the city. After some time, Jake arrived at an abandoned industrial zone where the SUV finally stopped. He observed closely as the vehicle entered an empty lot filled with old, rusting buildings. The place seemed deserted and neglected, with old factories and warehouses that had been left behind. The streetlights were dim and flickering, adding to the eerie and unsettling atmosphere. Jake parked his car at a safe distance and watched the SUV. He couldn't see clearly what was happening, but he noticed that the vehicle seemed to be waiting or parked in a strategic position, as if it were waiting for something or someone. Feeling he had discovered something significant, Jake knew he needed to inform the authorities. He immediately called the police, reporting what he had seen and providing details about the location and the SUV. Jake explained that he had reasons to believe the SUV was involved in suspicious activities and requested assistance for a surveillance operation. The voice of the police operator on the line was professional and understanding. Understood. Jake. We'll send a team to check the situation. Continue monitoring discreetly and keep us informed of any new developments. Jake agreed and waited. While he waited for the police team to arrive, he continued to observe the area from his vantage point, staying alert to any signs of suspicious activity. The tension mounted as time passed, and Jake knew that any additional information could be crucial in resolving the situation and ensuring Lily's safety. With the help of the police, Jake became involved in an operation at the abandoned industrial area where he had seen the SUV. The planning for the operation was meticulous, with the police sending a specialized team to the location. Anxious and determined, Jake was instructed to stay at a distance and provide additional information while the officers prepared for the intervention. The operation began early in the evening when the tactical police team arrived at the site in discreet vehicles. Jake observed from a safe vantage point, near a dark alley, as the officers moved with precision. They used communication equipment and red-tinted flashlights to avoid drawing attention while approaching the abandoned buildings. The officers, dressed in tactical gear and armed, spread out to secure the perimeter of the industrial area. Each was positioned strategically, with some focusing on the main entrance and others checking potential secondary exits. Jake watched the shadows of the officers moving between the rusted structures and piles of accumulated debris, his heart racing with anticipation. Finally, one of the officers signaled for the operation to commence. They approached the warehouses quietly, using tools to open rusted and locked doors. The tension was palpable as the officers entered, one by one, into the main building. Jake waited with bated breath, knowing that the success of the operation hinged on every carefully coordinated move. Inside the warehouse, the officers discovered what appeared to be a base of operations for the criminal organization. The space was equipped with computers, documents, and materials indicating a complex operation. Amid the chaos, Lily was found in one of the rooms, in custody but apparently in good condition. The police quickly moved to ensure Lily's safety and began arresting the members of the organization present. The operation was successful, with several individuals detained, including some of the organization's leaders. The industrial area was completely secured and inspected, with evidence collected and the site documented for future investigations. As the operation unfolded, Jake watched from afar, relieved to see Lily being rescued and receiving assistance. He knew that the work was not over, but the success of the operation brought a sense of relief and a promise of safety for Lily and other potential victims of the criminal organization. After the rescue, Lily was carefully escorted to a safe area. The police placed her under special protection and began working on the details to ensure her safety. She was transferred to a confidential location where she could start a new life with a protected identity, far from the reach of the criminal organization. Jake was at the hospital when the police arrived to speak with him. The lead detective, a man of average height with a serious demeanor, approached him. Jake Miller. Thank you for your efforts. Thanks to your information, we were able to save Lily and arrest several members of the organization. Without your help, this would have been much more difficult. Jake, visibly tired but relieved, responded, I just wanted to make sure she was safe. I'm glad we were able to act in time. Meanwhile, Lily, now in a safer and more peaceful environment, was being guided by a witness protection specialist. Lily, we will help you change your identity and ensure that you are out of reach of the organization. You will have a new name and a new life, away from any threats, explained the agent, who seemed very experienced and understanding. Lily, still visibly shaken, expressed her gratitude sincerely. Thank you for everything. I don't know what I would have done if Jake hadn't helped me. Back at the hospital, Jake was speaking with a social worker, who was there to provide support to those involved in the case. She explained that Lily and her baby would be in good hands and that all necessary resources were being provided to ensure their new life. You made a big difference, Jake. Lily and her baby now have a chance to start over, away from danger, the social worker said with an encouraging smile. Jake nodded, feeling a weight lifted off his shoulders. I just hope they have a better future now. With the rescue completed and the operation against the criminal organization underway, Jake was finally able to relax a bit. He felt relieved to have helped Lily and her future baby and was ready to face the next steps, knowing that his intervention had brought safety to someone in great need. With the threat finally neutralized, Lily was transferred to a secure location where she could start her life anew, far from danger. She was given a new name and assistance to adjust to her new identity. The witness protection team made every effort to ensure that she and her baby were in a protected and tranquil environment. Jake, relieved to know Lily was safe, continued to keep in touch with her. The friendship that developed between them was based on deep gratitude and the shared experience of that turbulent time. Lily sent messages of thanks and, whenever possible, called Jake to update him on how she was adapting to her new life. Their conversations were filled with words of encouragement and mutual support. Jake, in turn, was pleased to see Lily finding new hope for the future. He often received positive news about her and her recovery. Although the details of her new life were kept confidential for security reasons, the updates he received gave him a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. Over time, Jake returned to his daily routine as a taxi driver. However, the experience had profoundly changed him. Each ride seemed to carry new meaning. What had once been just a job was now filled with a renewed sense of purpose and courage. He felt more aware of how his actions could make a difference in people's lives and was more determined to face challenges with a new perspective. Jake's days were now marked by a sense of fulfillment. He continued driving the streets of New York, but with a fresh outlook on life and his own role in the world. The experience he had with Lily and the way he helped dismantle the criminal organization gave him inner strength and a deeper understanding of the importance of helping others and doing what is right.